moment. Okay.
Yeah, no worries.
I think we're live now, and I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty confident about this. Okay, good
Yeah, let me check.
evening and good morning, guys. This is okay. This is the ROJ the GOAT and Wimbush live stream. I wanted to start the live stream by saying what up, Wimbush here. But I just lost
Okay.
the vibe as soon as I started. But let me try. Let me try again.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
What
Yeah,
up,
say start
Wimbush
over.
here.
3,
Yeah.
2.
What up, Wimbush here. And today we're having the legendary Jonathan Wimbush on the channel. We're going to be talking about a lot of amazing things, mostly about tech in motion design and the amazing man here, Wimbush. How are you doing today?
Okay. Yeah, I'll
Nice.
do it officially for you. So, what up, Wimbush here. And today I'm excited to be here with my friend straight out of Africa, ROJ the GOAT, the best motion graphics artist out of Nigeria. You guys better recognize.
Yeah, I'm really like, well, you said the best. I don't consider myself the best. There are probably like 10 other guys that are better than me that I don't even know. Okay, so like let's do it.
Okay,
Let's start
top
again.
10.
Okay. Yeah, I think I can. I think I'll.
What up, Wimbush here, and I'm with my. Oh, you want me to go again?
Yep, sure.
All right.
Sorry.
What up, Wimbush here, and I'm here with my man ROJ the GOAT, top 10 motion graphic artist straight out of Nigeria. You guys better recognize. Holler at your boy.
Wow, that was like you're smoother with the intro than I ever will be. I need more practice with the intro. Thank you very much for coming. I'm like really excited about this stream, and I think you're one of those people that you're like really big, but then you're like unhinged by how big you are. Like you get like to a very certain level of success, and it's a certain level of success that would scare me and would make me feel like I'm on top of the world. But you're like unhinged by it, and I really admire how humble you are. It's really amazing to have you here. Thank you very much for coming to the stream.
No.
Sorry.
No, I appreciate it. You give me too much credit. I'm not that huge, you know. I'm just an artist like yourself, you know.
I think you make yourself not that huge because, like, man, if you look at behind him by the left, you'd see like a whole like accolades. You're the one motion designer that I see that has so much accolades, and you can't really tell. You're just like, it's just another award. That's how you feel about accolades. And it's really impressive.
I mean, I appreciate it. No, I really do appreciate like every award and every article and everything out there. But I think staying humbling is the most important thing for an artist. Like I've been doing this for a very long time, since like professionally since 2006. And I've seen a lot of motion graphics artists that try to come in as rock stars. Like, they're very talented. They're really good. They kind of get big headed to the point to where studios don't want to work with them. So it's like you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't, if you're not an easy person to work with, that's a lot of studios aren't going to want to work with you. So it's very important to stay humbling as an artist, no matter what type of level you're at, I feel.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Like I remember a quote by, I think it was probably Michael Janda in his book, On Your Portfolio. I think he didn't say it like this, but what he was saying is, having an amazing portfolio or being good at what you do is not enough to be successful. Like there's so much that goes into it. Like it takes you having the right attitude, you being like someone that fits in a team, you being able to like have conversations with people. Like there's so much that goes into being successful. And I think that's one thing that people should understand. And I feel really humbled to be at your presence, and I'm like learning a lot right now. Like it's really amazing. Okay, so yeah, sorry. Oh my god. Okay. I'm super like I'm having like what do I call it? I'm starstruck. That's why I'm shaking. I'm always starstruck in every single stream, and I need to stop being starstruck.
Yeah,
and just focus.
I
Okay.
mean, we're cool. We talked before, you know, we've talked for a few hours before Zoom. So, you know,
Yeah,
we're good, man.
it's true. But then it's different when you're like, I mean, what would I say? It's different when you're not on live and the whole world is not seeing you. When do I have like this really, really big stage fright? Like I
Yeah.
find it really difficult to present without shaking. And this channel has been like has really improved my presentation skills and it's been amazing. I'm going to try my best to not
Yep.
shake during this live stream and I'm
Yep.
going to ask all the questions I can.
Uh,
So you said you've been doing
let me tell you
yeah,
let me tell you a story real quick that might help you out. And so, like, I had the same thing as you. Like, anytime I had to do anything in front of people, like, I would just shake, you know, like, just like literally tremble. And I had an opportunity to speak at the Maxon booth at SIGGRAPH. This must have been like 2007. So I'm only like a year into my career. I just worked on like Fantastic Four and Iron Man back to back. And so, like, I sent that to Maxon. They saw it. They asked me to come out and present. And so I did the presentation at SIGGRAPH, and it was supposed to be around, I want to say like 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And I was
yeah.
so nervous because I'd never done anything like this before. And I went up and I had my whole presentation like all ready to go. Like, I've been practicing all week. And I get up there and I totally just, I just fumble it. Like, the whole thing, like, I didn't look at the audience. I looked straight down at my computer. I literally went through the whole entire presentation in 10 minutes. No joke. Like, I sped right through it. Like, I don't even know if people understood what I was saying. I kind of like just speed talked and mumbled all the way through it. And then I just looked up and I was like, any questions? And people just started clapping. And the guys at Maxon came out from behind their booth. They're like, oh, what happened? I'm like, oh, I'm done. And they're like, whoa, you still got like 25 minutes to fill up. And I'm just like, oh, shoot. So, you know, like, that was, just long story short, there's nothing to worry about. Cause like, after I went through that fumble, I went back the next day totally confident, and, you know, like, I did it and knocked it out the park. So I totally get where you're coming from, but I like telling people that story just to let you know, like, it's okay to have those butterflies. Like, the more you do it, the better you'll get.
Thank you very much for that story. Like you reminded me of something that happened to me. Like let's say, I think it should be 5 years now. I was supposed to give a presentation, like a debate, and I got there. I remembered everything from just the greetings and the beginning of the conversation, and everything from there went blank for me. Like I couldn't remember what I was going to say next. I couldn't remember my main points. And I would say that moment has really stuck with me. And every time I try to present something, I always have that moment behind me, like, oh my God, like you failed in this conversation and you failed in that debate. And it always keeps happening and it keeps going on. And I'm like still going through that stage fright and still learning how to present better. I'm hoping like I'm able
Yeah.
to fight it and I'm able to get to that point where I'm realizing that there's really nothing to worry about. Just go, just have a conversation and just
Yeah. Yeah.
present.
I mean, nothing's going to happen, Edro. Yeah, just get out there and knock it out. I mean, and you're doing YouTube, which is a great help. Like, I think, like, I hate going back and watching my first couple of tutorials because just doing YouTube alone, I was really nervous. And the more I did it, like,
Yeah.
I gave myself a goal, like, I'm going to do a tutorial at least once a week. And the more I did it, the more comfortable I got, which got me to this point here. Like, if I did this conversation with you maybe a few years ago, I'd probably be stuttering right loudly. You know, like, it just, you know, consistency is the key to it. So just keep doing what you're doing, and, you know, you'll be fine. It'll become natural after a point.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate this talk. Okay, let me just get right into the
Yeah, no worries.
question. Let me just get right into it. Yeah. Okay, so you've been doing motion design for over 15, maybe 15 years now, maybe 16 or 15 years, should be 16 this year. And like, can you just tell us how you started and how it happened for you? You're like, should I call you an OG in motion design? You're like, well, should I? I
No,
think in this modern motion design, like the way motion design is, you're probably one of the founding fathers. I'm going to say it like that. You're probably one of the founding fathers.
wow,
How did
that's
you start?
So I don't know if I'm the founding, because there's definitely people have been doing it longer. Like I had mentors when I first started, but yeah, I mean, I first got my start in the business. I went to school for this. Like originally, I wanted to work in video games. I grew up, a big gamer. I loved Nintendo, Sega Genesis, all those consoles growing up, but
Yeah.
I couldn't draw for anything. And so when I applied for art school, they wouldn't accept me into the game art program because I couldn't really draw. But they did have a new program that they just started for motion graphics and VFX. And so I ended up going to school for, motion graphics and VFX. I got my bachelor's degree for it. And then from there, I just I applied at like every studio I could basically in California. Like I was born and raised on the eastern part of the United States, and then
Mhm.
California is on the west. And so like California where I wanted to be. And so I applied at every studio there. And just by chance, Adam Sandler's assistant, which was from my hometown as well, she saw the address on the package. Like this was back when you had to literally burn your DVD with your reel on it and physically mail it in the mail. Like there was really no like Vimeo or YouTube or things like that. Like you physically had to mail it out. And so they got my package. She reached out to me. I she just said like, we like your work. If you're ever in town, like just hit us up. We love to talk. And so just by chance, I spent like all my tax return money on a red eye flight to fly out to California just to meet them because I didn't want the opportunity to pass. And then that's how I got my start. Like they were impressed, and I was working under Adam Sandler there for, I want to say 3 to 4 years. So yeah, I got to work in movies, got to do Blu-ray menus, trailers, all types of fun stuff over there. So that's pretty much how I got my foot into the door.
That's really interesting. I'm tempted to ask that. Like, what was it like feeling like you didn't know how to draw? That sounded really, because like, I don't know.
Yeah, I believe me, I've tried my entire life. I've took classes, I've bought all the drawing books, I had a light table, I did everything I could. Like my mom could draw really well. Like everybody else in my family was pretty much, a good artist, and it just skipped me for some reason. Like I couldn't draw for anything. And I made, thank goodness we had computers, like because I was good at Photoshop, and then I got to, go into After Effects. At school we were learning 3D Max, and so being gifted in the sense that I was able to use computers, that allowed me to still be an artist without really having to draw at all.
I think that's one thing you see a lot in our industry today. You find a lot of people who can draw, who don't even have like design skills, but then they have the softwares and they can animate and they can tell stories and they do really crazy stuff. Especially, I know before we talk, I was telling you how much I hate seeing that 3D renders. But then that's an example of
Yeah.
people not being able to draw, just using DAS and just doing 3D. And I think you're probably in the same
Yeah.
similar situation. Though I'm someone who
It,
I'm kind of like the polar opposite of you. Everyone in my family cannot draw. I can draw.
mhm.
I probably
Oh,
skip
can you?
everyone.
I mean,
Yeah, I probably
say
skip.
it definitely helps.
Yeah, it does
Yeah.
help.
My
But then you want to say something?
Oh, no, I was gonna say it definitely skipped me because my daughter, she could draw really well. Like she's only 11 and she's just drawing every day. So I'm just like, what happened to me? Like, why did the drawing genes just skip over me?
I also think that maybe drawing is drawing is not a talent, as people would say. It's probably a skill. Why I say that is because I am an amazing person. Like I can draw. I know myself. I can draw. I could draw since I could pick up a pen. That's one of the first things I was able to
Hmm.
do. And I don't even know how I started drawing. I just know I started drawing, and it was probably when I was 3 or 4. But when I don't draw, I figured my drawing is really, really bad because drawing is a skill. It's not really a talent. The more you draw, the more you understand how forms work and shapes and perspective and light and all those things, the more you get better at it. I think I think I think you probably, maybe, I'm not sure how true it is. Maybe you didn't draw enough. I'm just going to say it like that. What do you think?
I think it might just be the way my brain works. Like, I don't know. Like, I definitely tried my best. You know, like I grew up a comic book nerd. So like all the Marvel comics and everything, I was a big collector growing up. I'd always try to draw comics, and yeah, I don't know what happened. It just, for some reason, my brain just can't, like, I have the image in my head, but I just can't translate it with my hands. So
I
yeah,
think I get
I
you.
don't know. I tried. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take the question away from drawing a little bit. I have like a bunch of questions that I just put out randomly. So I noticed you're kind of like,
Yeah.
how would I put it, the forefront of technology in motion design. Like anytime there's a new tech from the time you've started, you're probably one of the first people to try using it. Like for example, you you are one of the first people to use Cinema 4D for film. I think, at least I think. That's why I said one of the first people, because I'm not
Mhm.
sure who are the first people, but you're product, because I don't think people use Cinema 4D for film. I think most people use softwares like Maya or some other software that the companies develop and they don't let go out. And
Yeah.
you did one of the first VR music videos back in 2016, 2017, I think.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
pioneering everyone. You're kind of like the pioneer of everyone trying to do motion design and using Unreal Engine, like real-time rendering stuff. You're kind of like the pioneer right now. How do you keep getting to be the first person to use or be one of the first people to use new tech in motion design? Like I just want is this something that other people are not
I'm
seeing?
a, no, like, I guess it's just because of my upbringing. Like I said, I was a big comic book nerd when I was growing up. So you see like a lot of technological stuff in there, you know, just like the different storylines. You would see stuff like holograms and supercomputers, like watching X-Men and stuff like that. And then just being in that generation that got to see computers kind of go from just black and green screens to where they
Yeah.
were like progressing. Like, I was just always really infused in technology and gaming consoles. You know, like we went from Atari to Nintendo to Genesis to Super Nintendo. Like, you just saw the progression there. And so it just always grabbed my interest. Like, this technology is growing so fast, and I was just always intrigued by it. So when it came to motion graphics, like, I just kind of fell into Cinema 4D by chance, actually, because like I had the opportunity to work on Fantastic Four, which is a Marvel property, and I just was like, no matter what, I have to get on this. They were actually using Cinema 4D for that main title there, so I pretty much just taught myself cinema like overnight. Like, I stayed at the studio till like 2, 3, 4 in the morning reading the actual pamphlet, because it was just like a thick manual back in the day. There was like no online help or anything. And yeah, I just did what I could to learn cinema just so I could work on that project pretty much. And then from there, it was like there's other programs, because like I knocked it out with cinema, and you know, like the studio was impressed. And it's just like there's this other program called RoFlow at the time, which just came out, and it was for like fluid simulations, but they did have like
Oh,
some dynamics in there as well. And so cinema didn't really have dynamics back then. Yeah, because we were working on a project where we needed a logo to break apart and fall on the ground, and nobody could figure it out at the studio how to make this thing happen in cinema. So I brought it into RoFlow and used its dynamic system, brought it back into cinema, and they all just freaked out. They're like, how in the heck did you make that logo break and fall? And it just like that kind of sparked my brain. I'm like, I could use other programs that aren't meant for certain things. Like RoFlow is meant for fluid sims mostly, but I was able to use it for dynamic simulations and bring that back over. And so is it like being a motion graphics artist is just all about problem solving. So I'm just all about using the right tools for the job, no matter what it is. Like, I'm not afraid to just go out and jump into something else. And then like the virtual reality stuff, I mean, that was just cool to me myself. Like, as
yeah.
humans, it's like we always want that next step in evolution. So I'm like, the first time I tried on the Oculus, I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I put on a headset and I'm standing at the top of the Eiffel Tower looking over and literally leaning over the tower, like seeing it. It's like it felt so real that that's why I really wanted to jump into that space. But yeah, I'm just, long story short, I'm just like a huge tech nerd, you know?
I can definitely relate with that. But there's something you said that really caught my attention. Motion design is about problem solving. Like motion design is probably one
Yeah.
of the most underdeveloped career paths in the world. There's not really like any standardized system for learning it. So like everyone is winging it. So like if you're not a natural born
Yeah.
problem solver, you're not fit to be a motion designer. So but you could do some other motion design is
Yeah.
broad enough to accommodate other things, but the core of it is being able to solve problems. And I like the fact that you were able to solve
Mhm.
that problem in the project working at those. I think that's probably why you are able to that's probably one of the reasons why you're able to stand out from the crowd, because you're able to solve problems that most people are like, hey, what is this? And it's like, just put it in wheel flow, do some dynamics, and boom, you're gone. You've done it. And I'm sure if I was
Right. Right.
the guys in the team, I would be freaking out like, what the hell? How did you do this? I've been trying to figure this out for days. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, I mean, because they invited me to like an after party after work, and I heard them talking about it. They're like, "Can you believe that he used RoFlow for that type of stuff?" And I'm just like, to me, it didn't seem, that crazy, but it's just, yeah. So some people are just so in tuned into what they know. Like, I know Cinema, this is all I'm going to use, or I know Maya, this is all I'm going to use, instead of just being like, hey, maybe I need to just step over here for a quick second, get what I need, and then bring it back over. Like I see Houdini, like people are jumping into Houdini. Those people are doing that all the time. It's like their simulation system is better in Houdini. So they'll
Mhm.
learn just what they need in Houdini, export that out as like an Olympic file or whatever, and bring it back in the cinema and keep working from there. So I'm seeing more and more people do it, but that's just a part of the game. Like you just got to be able to think on the fly and just, not be afraid to experiment and get your feet dirty.
I think I'm also doing that in a way. I don't have a specific software that I'm using right now that I tell people it's Blender or Cinema 4D. But the truth is, I have
Yeah.
like 100 softwares installed on my PC, and I just
Yeah.
leave Cinema 4D, go to Blender, go from Blender to maybe Unreal Engine sometimes, but I haven't been able to get over Unreal
Hmm.
Engine. I don't know why, because of that load. That first time loading, that first time you open Unreal Engine and it takes years to load. That I still can't get myself through that phase. It's not like I can't get myself through that phase.
And
I'm just not patient enough to wait.
yeah, the shader compiling thing. Yeah, that's usually like your first time opening it, but after that, you should be fine. Like you shouldn't have to keep compiling your shaders. But yeah,
Yeah,
no, I definitely get what you're saying. Like I forgot all about that. Like people that took my course, they're like, "How come you didn't tell us about the shader compiling?" And I'm like, "Oh, I forgot because it's been so long since I've had to do that. Like I just totally forgot about it."
I know you are like
So
really cool with the Unreal Engine team. Please, can you tell them to compile the shader while the software is installing, so we don't have to compile it every when we open it? Because it's
yeah,
like,
well,
that's a turn off. Like if I
I
wasn't
mean,
super
we'll see
interested
what
in Unreal,
happens
I
with
would do.
Unreal 5.
Like I can't wait for
Yeah.
Unreal 5. Okay, so what software do you think is going to be the next big thing? Or what motion tech do you think is going to be the next big thing?
Yeah, it's hard to tell right now. There's so much coming out. Like I keep hearing stuff about Blender. I keep seeing cool stuff about Blender, especially with the grease pen, or no, the grease pencil. Like there's a lot of cool stuff I'm seeing by 2D artists jumping into Blender that looks really neat. Of course, Unreal
Yeah.
5 is like that big thing that everybody's just been waiting for. And the more stuff they keep dropping, like the metahumans and stuff like that, the more exciting it gets. And then just along those points, definitely whatever Maxon is working on as well. Like with this R23, they introduced I want to, is it called Newton or Neutron? I can't remember, but they have their node system that they've been working on that's similar to Houdini. So it's kind of like a baby Houdini in that sense. So I'm kind of curious to where they take that type of stuff. But then yeah, like on the Adobe side, of course, like After Effects, they announced that they're working on a multi-threading CPU stuff that will make After Effects faster, which will make everybody's life a lot easier. And so
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff on the horizon. But oh, and then Embergen is the big one. Like I've been really following what those guys have been doing. That fire simulation in real time, that
Wow.
stuff is crazy what they're doing over there.
Yeah, I feel like everybody is bringing up amazing stuff. Like every single person is just coming up with new tools that are just crazy.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone doing motion design and trying to figure out the tool to use? Because there's so
Yeah, I
much
would
like
say, yeah.
I want to say that
The basics.
sorry. Okay, let me
No, no,
go
go
first,
ahead.
then you
No,
go.
sorry. I know
Okay.
there's like a delay. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to say that um before, like when you first started, there wasn't a lot of tools for a lot of things, especially like, for example, that um dynamic simulation thing that you were talking about. Nowadays, just doing dynamics is very simple. Just add soft body, sorry, just add
Hmm.
a collider body and add rigid body in Cinema 4D and hit play. You've done your dynamic simulation, then you bake it. That's the end. But back in the day, there wasn't a lot of tools. It
Yeah.
wasn't this easy. It wasn't this accessible. Now everyone is
Hmm.
having so much tools to use for so many things. Like if you have a problem, you're trying to figure out something, there's a tool for it. You can easily figure it out in either Cinema 4D, Blender, Houdini, any of the softwares can do it nowadays. How do you someone decide in this information overload time that we're having right now? Because there's so many software, there's so many tools. Any one of those softwares could go big. There's a good chance that it's Unreal Engine or Blender or Cinema
Yeah.
4D, but every one of them is going to go big. So how do I
So,
pick in this age?
yeah. So it's like it all depends on what you want to specialize in or what you want to do. But I always say it's good to start with the basics. So learning like your compositing software, and I mean like still compositing like Photoshop or Affinity, like something like that, just because you could learn how the different blend shape or blend tools work. You could learn how the layer
Yeah,
functions are working. And once you get comfortable in Photoshop and just doing manipulation and like doing the rotor tools and stuff like that, then the next logical step is After Effects, because After Effects is an easy enough program to get in, get some animations going, kind of learn, like the basics of how motion graphics is. And then once you're comfortable on that, then that's when it gets kind of tricky, because then it's like there's all these 3D applications out there. So whether like Cinema 4D integrates with After Effects really well. I know Blender is free, so that the access point to getting right into Blender might be good, because then you could learn at least the fundamentals of 3D. And with that knowledge, you could take that to anything else that you want. So from Blender, you can excel up to Cinema. You could go over to Unity, Unreal, whatever else is there. But as long as you know the fundamentals of like all these different programs, then from there it gets a lot easier. So I would say Photoshop, After Effects, Blender, or Cinema 4D, and then expand out from there.
it's just starting with like, so you're saying like know the basics first, then pick based on what you know, pick based on the basics of what works for you ultimately. That makes
Mhm.
sense. I'm looking into trying out Houdini and because like I want to make better simulations. Though I found a way to export
Yeah.
from Cinema 4D to Blender. I was telling you about it using Alembic files, so they get really heavy really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like,
Yeah. 100. Yeah.
sorry, I was saying a lot of things. So like, sorry, I'm trying to get back my train of thought. I'm looking for my next question.
Yeah. Yeah. No
What did
worries.
okay, I was talking about how what's it called? How it to get to understand the softwares that you want to use, um you have to like start with the basics. What would you say? Like, where would you say where is the best place to learn the basics for each of those softwares?
Yeah. So Photoshop, there's a guy online. I think he works for Adobe. His name is Terry White. He's been doing it for like I want to say 2 decades on. He's like a Photoshop master. He's Adobe certified. So Terry White is a good guy for Photoshop. And then of course with After Effects, you have you have a whole bunch of people out there. You know, the first go-to guy is Andrew Kramer. He has like an
Yep.
After Effects workshop boot camp type thing. I know it's a little bit dated, but the fundamentals are still there, and that's all completely free. And then man, I can't remember his name. There's another After Effects. There's another good After Effects guy. Like I was literally just on his show. I feel bad
Yeah.
for forgetting his name. Let me look
No,
it
it's
up.
okay.
But he does some pretty cool stuff live. Yeah, EC Abrams. And so EC Abrams is another good guy to go. He's on YouTube and he's on Twitch. Like he does Twitch
Evan
streams
Abrams.
every weekend where yeah, Evan Abrams. So he'll
Yeah.
literally take a logo and he'll animate it live in front of you and walk you through all the steps. I mean, he's really good. So he does his
Yeah.
Twitch streams every weekend. And then you were
Mount
asking
McGrath.
about 3D as well.
Yeah, 3D.
Yeah,
I
Mount
think
McGrath is good.
I think for 3D, the
And
best
then
first place would be Grayscale Gorilla. For cinema, for the
yeah,
first
I
place
was gonna
would be
say the School of Motion stuff is really good. Like my son went through the C4D base camp and he really enjoyed it. Like he does Photoshop and After Effects, but that really helped him get into Cinema 4D. So yeah, EJ's course on there is really well. I'm trying to think who else is a good C4D guy. Like I know it's going to kill me because I watch a lot of people out there, but yeah, cinema. I would say School of Motion is probably one
I
of
think
just because they have like teacher assistants and they help walk you through the process and stuff. And so
I think EJ's channel to Cinema 4D is to Cinema 4D Gold. Like just this channel, his own YouTube
yeah,
channel. You see like a lot of things on about Cinema 4D and Grayscale Gorilla. For Blender, we are a little bit in that space where we're not sure what to recommend anymore. Normally, we'll just be like, okay, for Blender, it's
yeah,
definitely Blender Guru. There's nobody taking that space from him. But then over the months, I don't really think we should go over it. But then the
yeah.
community is kind of going over, like, isn't really supporting Blender Guru right now. But then, other than that, I think Blender Guru is an amazing place to learn. Is an amazing place to learn Blender. I mean, I learned Blender from Blender Guru like back in 2016. So if you're trying to go to Blender, it's probably an amazing place. But you have to understand you have to be able to get over the fact that there are some things that he says that you might not be agreeing with or that sound really offensive. If you can get over that, you would probably learn a lot from him. And there is this guy, Ian Hubert. So you want to say something?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
There's this guy is kind of like, I would call him a Blender god. Small G, like I was going to say small G, but like it's crazy. It does this short videos where it just takes out a real image, creates a plane, do image projection, and does really crazy Blender stuff. And is kind of my second person to learn Blender from because it's really, really good. Like when I mean someone is good at Blender, is like crazy. I'm going to find his name and link him up right now. Sorry.
Yeah.
And that is it's Ian Yu, but I'm just going to link his channel in the chat.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Is
in the comments to James over there, Fried Pixel just made a good point. He said Devin Co made a list on Twitter of some really good Blender resources too. So
yeah,
I would look up Devin Co and also Blake.
Oh yeah, Devin Co.
Catherine put the list up as well.
She's also a really good person to learn Cinema 4D from. She has like this really cool Cinema 4D course. I think she has this really cool Cinema 4D course that goes over how to do Cinema 4D if you're a designer, and it's pretty cool. I see the work people are doing from taking that course. But I think the top pick is definitely for Cinema 4D is definitely School of Motion because of the system they put in place to learning Cinema 4D and making it easy for you to grasp knowledge quickly. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so if you notice, if you're just going to the live stream and you see me like this, I've been shaking all throughout this stream. I've been shaking through every word.
You've been doing good, man.
Like
You're
this will be
doing
my
fine,
second
man.
stream when I'm shaking crazily. I've never been shaking this much, and it's because I'm starstruck. You literally are you've been part of a lot of projects that I really connect to, especially the Fantastic Four one. When I was much younger, I really loved all the three Fantastic Four films. I think it was three. And it was really amazing. Like I feel really starstruck to see that you actually worked on that film, and I feel really excited to talk to you. And you're one of the I think if I continue this conversation, I'll probably keep on praising you till the end of this conversation. Okay, so let me just go to the next question.
Yeah.
And okay, so what tools do you use right now?
What tools do I use right now?
Yeah, like what is that tech you use? What are the techs you use right now? I'm looking for the perfect way to construct construct the question. I'm shaking a lot.
Yeah, no. So no, that my top three tools I would have to say is Cinema 4D, Unreal Engine, and After Effects. I mean, that's mostly what I work in. Like I work in sometimes I'll do stuff with Illustrator as needed or Photoshop, but for my day-to-day, I'm usually, constructing or gray boxing a little bit in Cinema. I'm doing most of my work in Unreal, and then from there, I usually send it off to After Effects if I need to do any, like minute polishing or stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, that's basically where I'm at right now.
What do you think is going to change in your workflow in the next couple of months?
Oh, um, yeah, I don't know because I'm pretty like I don't know how much faster I could get with my current workflow. Like I have a 2080 Ti Threadripper 3, and just working on my scenes in Unreal is just pretty fast. And then stuff I need to bring over from Cinema, using the MoGraph cloner or modeling stuff out is just a quick, easy export over. And so the only thing that could use room for improvement, I think, is After Effects. Once they do multi-threaded CPU, then we could
Yeah.
get through After Effects renders a lot faster. I think that would be the pinnacle right there. But that's kind of been like the bottleneck. Like I love After Effects, but it's just extremely slow, you know. Slow
Yeah.
when, working in compared to working in other programs.
I think the reason is because After Effects works best when you're using one core of your CPU. And that's the
Yeah.
end. If you want to get a good After Effects system, you have to like pick out the best single core performing CPU of the bunch to work in After Effects comfortably. I think they should definitely improve on it because After Effects is it's actually the most used tool in motion design. And it's kind of like, I would call
Yeah.
them the king of motion. I feel like I give everyone title. After Effects is kind of like that one software that you just have to know as a motion designer. You can't even escape it. Just have to know it. And they need to really
Yeah,
improve on that.
100%.
Because like I get DMs like, okay, my system is really slow. How do I use After Effects? And it's just going to be helpful for everyone if they improve it. Okay, I wanted to ask about your
Yeah.
course, motion design, Real Engine. How did you start it? How did the inspiration come about? Where do you see the course going? And I just want you to talk about your course as much as you can. I'm
Yeah,
definitely
no problem. So it yeah, it's crazy because I haven't even been an Unreal user for that long. So like if you don't know, I put out an Unreal Engine course through mograph.com. That's the course Raj is talking about. But like my journey into Unreal only really started in 2019, that summer when I was at SIGGRAPH, and like Epic, they basically announced that they had this plugin called a Datasmith plugin, and it would allow you to bring your Cinema 4D project into Unreal. So just being, like an avid gamer growing up, that kind of excited me. Like I was using Unity at that point, but like I wasn't really too big on Unity. Like it was fine, but I just wasn't
yeah.
getting out of it what I wanted. And so once they made that announcement, I immediately went home, was looking it up online. There was like no documentation. Like they pretty much just made the announcement and that was it. And so I just stayed up all night trying to figure out how to get my scenes from Cinema into Unreal, figure out what worked and what didn't work. And then like a way that I like to do, you know, stuff so I don't forget is like I do screen capturing and screen recordings just so I have like an archive of what I'm doing. And so actually, once I did that, I went back and watched it, and I was like, I should put this up on YouTube. I made like a little tutorial on it. I want to say like that very next morning before I went back to SIGGRAPH, and I uploaded it and went to SIGGRAPH, and like everybody recognized me. They're like, "You're that guy that put together that tutorial. Like, how'd you figure it out so fast?" Like, I met Paul from Maxon, and the guys over there, they're like, "Yeah, we saw your tutorial. Like, that's crazy. Like, we didn't even know that, you know, that was possible because they like that was an epic announcement. Like Maxon had nothing to do with that importer or anything of that nature. And so that kind of just gave me the spark to keep going because people kept asking me questions like, hey, I saw your tutorial. I'm trying to do this. It's not working. And then I would go and figure it out. And it just kind of, you know, kind of evolved on its own. And the more that I was answering questions on how to get from Cinema to Unreal, the more I just kind of fell in love with the program and just kept working more and more into it. And so we get to, I was presenting at Adobe Max at the AMD booth, and that's when I ran into Matthias, and he came over and he watched my presentation because I was doing some VR stuff in Unreal with Mixmaster Mike. Like I did a volumetric capture of them. So I was showcasing that along with doing like live demonstrations on how you can make like a video game with Cinema 4D and Unreal. So Matthias came over, watched my presentation, and we just immediately clicked. He was like, we should talk about getting you on, you know, some of the Maxon presentations. And through that is where I met like the guys over at mograph.com. And so speaking with Dave and David Brodor and those guys over there, they're like, you should put together a motion graphics course for Unreal Engine. And at that time, I was kind of hesitant because I'm like, I'm still, you know, like I'm not an Unreal guru or anything. Like I'm still, you know, in the midst of it myself. And they're like, oh no, you know a lot. You do fine. Just put together this course and we'll help you along the way. And so I put together the course, and yeah, I was just shocked at how many people said like it actually helped make it easier for them to transition over, just because like it's my first course that I've ever done. I've only done tutorials before that. And so I was kind of, you know, scared when I put it out there. I'm like, are people going to hate this because they're actually spending money on it? And I just wasn't sure what the reaction was going to be, but it's been pretty, you know, positive so far. So just on that note, like hopefully once Unreal Engine 5 comes out, I'll do another tutorial series. Hopefully that one might be free. Like I actually did apply for the Epic Mega Grant. They said that was part of my proposal, that I wanted to get the Mega Grant so that I could actually do another course when Unreal Engine 5 comes out, but this time make it completely free for the masses, because I just feel like, you know, like knowledge is key and I don't want to withhold that from
Yeah.
anybody. And so if I can be compensated to, you know, share the knowledge that I know, I mean, I would much rather prefer that. So, I mean, like it's been cool seeing people buy my course, but you know, like just coming up through like my career, like I've got to work behind a lot of really great artists, and I got to ask them questions and I got to work alongside them or behind them. And like I learned just from, you know, like free education, pretty much, like people would help me along the way. And so I would just like to reciprocate that back to the community.
You know, I'm really looking forward to seeing you get that grant, because it's going to be really amazing for the community. Because like Unreal Engine is one of the fastest growing tools, and it's going to be really, because like computers are really expensive. Unreal Engine makes it really easy to get high performance, like high quality work from a really low performing system. I think that's one of the biggest motivation for taking the course. I mean, what do you
Yeah.
think? Why do you think people take the course?
What, you said, why do people need to take the course, or?
Yeah, like I was saying that I think one of the biggest thing about Unreal Engine is the fact that you're able to make amazing work on a very slow, on a potato. I'm just gonna call it a potato.
Mhm.
And I'm saying that could be one of the
Right.
major like reasons why people take the course. And I'm asking like currently, like, why do people take the course?
I think a lot of people have been interested since, like, you know, since the whole world is on lockdown, and a lot of people are, you know, looking for new skills to get into. And I think to contribute to the big rush to Unreal is because of the Mandalorian stuff that Disney put out. Like that was all that virtual production stuff, and they did the behind the scenes, and that just really exploded. And of course, they used Unreal for that. And so with that popularity of anything Star Wars and attaching Unreal to it, a lot of people have been looking up what Unreal is. And so I know a lot of people reached out to me. Like I don't go over virtual production because I haven't really done it. Like I just use Unreal for motion graphics, but it's still a good introduction course because I go over the basics of like, here's, you know, where A, B, and C is. This is how you navigate this. And we go through a couple of scenes, and it's more about getting you comfortable in there. So whenever you're done with the course, whether you want to do like automotive design or ArchViz or make a game or even do virtual production, it's like you have that basic knowledge of Unreal to where you can expand your skill set. Like the showcase that I did the other night with MoGraph.com, we had 3 people on there, and each one of those people took the course. But what was interesting was each one of those people, once they were done with the course, they took 3 different paths on where they wanted to take it. So yeah, like Gabby, she got really into the motion capture stuff. She's been doing like live motion capture with her suit into Unreal and putting out short films. And then you have Jags that's been using it to make commercial for board games and things of that nature, which is really cool. And then we have Logan, who is out there. He's been combining his not like he's actually a TA for School of Motion. So he was doing David Aria's course, the light camera renders course, and he was taking what he knows from there, bringing it into Unreal Engine and turning that stuff into like actual video games, which is really cool. Like he took that driving scene that they put out and he made like an actual driving video game out of it. So it's been really cool seeing where everybody's taking this stuff.
I think Logan posts a lot. I follow him on Instagram. I think he posts a lot of Unreal experiments on his Instagram where he makes these crazy scenes. It does really cool stuff, and it's really amazing to see because they look so realistic, and it's done. You know, there's still this uncanniness that okay, you have it in your subconscious that okay, this thing is probably 3D, but then if there wasn't that uncanniness to it, you still realize you wouldn't be able to tell that this thing is not real. This is 3D. And you see it a lot in Logan's work, and I'm really glad to see that I learned a lot of those things from watching your course. So
yeah, and the thing too is like okay, so Unreal can do photorealism, but the thing that I like too is the surrealism stuff that's out there as well. Like I was a big fan of cel shaded video games growing up, so being like I'm probably going to start doing some stuff like that as well, because like it's really easy to go in and make cel shaded stuff too, which you could get anime looks out of it. You could get like a Link to the Past type look out of it. Like there's a lot of stuff that you could do with it, and so I really like the way that you could just kind of explore different paths with it. Like I know there's this. I don't know, there's like this hunger from everybody for like photorealism for some reason, but I'm just like, there's there's other art forms out there too. So I think it's really cool that you can iterate that really fast and kind of make changes on the fly. The viewport is really fast. That's my favorite part. Like not even the real-time rendering, it's the real-time workflow. Like I'm in there. I was actually doing the Discord chat with Logan the other night. He was showing me how to use this one thing in Unreal, but we literally made a forest with like a million trees in it in like just a matter of seconds. And there's no lag or anything. Like I'm just flying through the forest. Like it's nothing. Like it's just crazy how this system works in real time when you're like
playing a video game.
Actual viewport. Yeah.
I think
at the heart of it is the video game engine. So yeah.
Yeah. So I think one thing you said that really stands out is the fact that people focus on photorealism too much. And I think I've been watching a lot of art critics, and a lot of art critics complain about this, the fact that people focus on like realism too much. And because they focus on realism too much, they add so many principles of realism to a scene. It looks realistic to an extent, but then there is this uncanniness to it that I think you see it a lot in movies like Disney remake of The Lion King. You're like, oh my God, all these animals are so photorealistic, but there's like this uncanniness to them that it just doesn't feel like there's no art in it. There's no art to it, and it's so bad. So like people need to focus on more art styles, and that's one interesting thing that you said. Sorry, when I say
something. It's I was going to say that like I go hiking a lot. Like I spend a lot of time out in nature, and I take a lot of photos too. So like I'm out there, and this is as photorealistic as you could get. And I mean, honestly, nature is pretty bland. Like when people think of like when they show me an image, they're like, "This is photo real." I'm like, this is kind of like a hyper exaggeration of what, like, because you're missing with the color grading, you're bringing up the shadows more, and you're just manipulating the photo to where like it looks really good, but in reality that's not photo real. Like when you're outside and you're on these hiking trails, and you're looking at how the sun is refracting through the leaves to cast a shadow on the ground, like it's not as, like, I don't know, like when people show me photorealism, is like I know what photorealism is because I'm out there all the time, and it doesn't look the same. So it's kind of like photorealism is in the eyes of the beholder, because
Yeah.
people have it in their head like this looks good, this is photo real. But if, like, I've showed people a photo before, is like, oh yeah, this is my CG render, but it totally wasn't. It was just like a picture I took out while hiking, and they're like, oh, that looks totally fake. And so it's just one of those things. It's kind of weird, and there's always that argument in the community, but yeah.
Yeah. I think I can relate to it. I have like these weird eyes. I can like I just look at the picture and be like, this looks definitely fake. And it's mostly with CG
Yeah.
renders. And no matter how many CG you show me, I can tell that it's CG because I've seen thousands of CG renders. But then I think one thing that makes
Yeah.
photorealism, like actual real life, one thing that makes it stand out is the fact that real life is not perfect. CG is perfect, no
Yeah. Yeah.
matter
I give
all
you
the
that.
surface imperfections you add, or all the ambient occlusion, or all the chromatic aberration you add. It's never going to look like real life unless you understand how the like how all imperfection works in real life. Unless you're able to be creative with it. Like there is this picture with this I saw of this artist, and nothing in that scene looked photorealistic. Like the scene looks extremely photorealistic, and it looks ugly. Why it works is because of the way the artist lit the scene. It lit it as if you were using a flash, like you were using, how cameras were back in the days. There wasn't really fancy lighting, so it lit it as if a paparazzi shot that picture. So there's like only front light, and it's like blasting really, really bright. So that gave the impression of photorealism, and it gave the impression that this image is old. That is, even though it's totally like, even though it's like a full CG render, that is how to do photorealism. You're not trying to make it look extremely realistic. You're just trying to make it look real. You're just trying to make it follow the principles of how things work in the world, and you're trying to tell a story with it too. I think that's what a lot of artists. I'm
Right.
going to say that to DAS render, like DAS users, because they are probably the
Yeah.
culprits. I just see I'm an amazing render, and I see a DAS figure there, and I'm like, what's this? Sorry, I think this is where you say something interesting. What do you think about
Yeah.
meta-humans
No,
and the realism of like,
um. Yeah. So the metahumans thing is interesting in itself, because like I've been kind of following that path for the past year. Like Epic, they bought these two studios that they specialized in facial motion capture, and this other studio um they specialized in like character creation and actual full body motion capture. And so
yeah,
we're kind of seeing the fruits of those two companies coming together under Epic, and that's what metahumans is. Like I think it's great because it gives us another option besides like character creator or DAS. Those are like the two big ones that people have been using, which I mean those are good if you really know how to use them, but you can kind of tell when you see like a DAS character or a character creator character or whatever. Like they're getting better, but I think that metahumans kind of raised the bar on that. Like it's not perfect, of course, but again, we only saw like a demonstration of it. Like we don't have any users that are in there using it, so we don't really know fully what it's capable of yet. But just from the demo that I played around with, because you can actually download the sample and play around with it and stuff. I mean, I'm pretty impressed so far, and just knowing Epic, I know this is just, the start of it. And so I'm kind of excited to see where it's going to go within these next couple of months before it goes public.
Yeah, I think they really hit the nail in, like they really got the realism to an extent. Like it definitely looks real. And if you check their presentation, there are some parts of it that looks okay, this looks extremely real. And there are some parts of it that just feels really uncanny. I don't know if you noticed that in their presentation.
Yeah.
There's some part that okay, this
Yeah, that's where
I think
it gets tough because as humans, we're used to interacting with each other all the time.
yeah,
So there's these little nuances, especially in our face where we have so many muscles and we're just used to knowing how a human face is supposed to look. And so when you see something CG that's kind of just like trying to replicate that, like they could get really close, but it's still hard to nail just those little nuances that, like each muscle twitch has in your face. And so I think it's
yeah.
close, but I do see a lot of people out there really nitpicking it. And I'm just like, I don't know. Like it's probably one of the best that I've seen so far. So I'm not going to
Except the
hate on
teeth.
it, but I mean, yeah, the
Ex-
teeth thing, like I'm going to hold judgment on that because again, we don't know the options we
yeah.
have for the teeth. Like we could probably have options to add, like decay and plaque and, yellow them a little bit, because human teeth are not perfect. And so hopefully they give us the tools in there when we're creating the character just to add those little imperfections in there to make it seem a little bit more realistic.
I think I think you're pretty close with the Unreal team, so you could really you could really help in the improvement of it. Like they should take our critics. But I feel like apart from the teeth, if you check their presentation, I wish I could show it now, but it's going to mess up the stream. The teeth is
Yeah.
that one thing that makes me like every other thing in the face, the lips, the facial expression, how the muscles move, looks totally realistic. How the head shakes and how the eyelashes, how the eye winks as it animates, looks very realistic. But when I see the teeth, I'm like, okay, this is a 3D character. I can tell that teeth is just too perfect. And I know no one in my family has perfect
Yeah.
teeth. Not even Captain America has
So we
perfect teeth.
could we could fix it by throwing like a COVID mask on the character. And then
Yeah,
you don't see the teeth. So we just put a mask on it. Like that's like,
yeah,
and then there you go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect, like hyper realistic character. Just put a very realistic COVID mask and rig it. Make sure you rig it.
Yeah.
Make sure you rig the mask. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. I wanted before we dive into, I didn't mention it in the beginning of the stream, but Mr. Wimbush here has a very big announcement today. But before we go dive into the
Yeah.
announcement, my friend John is going to kill me if I don't ask you about virtual reality. So, can you give us like
Yeah.
any tips to starting out in VR? And can you share your story about how you start out in VR? Then we go into your announcement and we ask a few final questions and we end the stream.
Yeah.
How did
Yeah.
you get
And
started?
so
Yeah,
yeah, no, I got my first taste of VR. Well, I guess it was back in the 90s when they used to have these pop-up arcades and it was like
yeah.
really rudimentary VR that kind of would make you throw up. But those were like back when Virtual Boy was out and stuff like that. And so like I just always had an affinity for it, especially because there's a movie that was called The Lawnmower Man that kind of really dove into the possibilities of VR and it just really looked cool. And so fast forward to a couple of years ago, maybe like 2015. I had a friend that was working at Oculus, and this is before they got bought out by Facebook. They used to literally be 20 minutes away from my house. That's where the headquarters was. And so
Wow.
my friend, he invited me over just to check out some of the developer kits that they had over there. So at the time, the DK2 developer kit 2 was out and they were showing me some of the stuff on there. And then they were working on a prototype for the CV1, which came out to be like the first official Oculus Rift, but they were just showing me some demonstrations and I kind of went in with the mindset like, yeah, like VR is cool, but I remember my experience as a kid with it. Like I'm probably going to get really sick, but I tried it out and it was just amazing. Like they showed me a few demonstrations. Like there was one where this T-Rex is walking down this very dark hallway, and then it gets like right in your face, and you can see the nostrils moving, and he walks over you, and it just felt like I never saw anything like that. And then they had like this Eiffel Tower example where you're standing on top of the Eiffel Tower and you're looking over, and as you're swaying, like your body feels like it's like on this board that's planked out over Paris and stuff. And so like I was immediately hooked, and I just kind of I fell in love with it. And I was talking to my friend. I'm like, I want to jump into VR. Like, how do I get into it? And he was like, well, you could buy a developer kit, but you have to know like a game engine, which like they were really using Unity at the time. And I had no idea like how to use any of that stuff. So I'm like, well, I know Cinema 4D. I'm just going to use that. And he is like, well, VR is more for video games. Like no one's gonna, like no one wants to watch pre-rendered stuff. But I kind of took that as a challenge. And so like I experimented for a long time trying to get 360 renders out of Cinema, bring them into After Effects and do all types of crazy stuff. Like it was a lot of experimenting because there's no tools for it at the time. And then like I kind of had like my workflow down packed. And then that's when I actually met like Mixmaster Mike. He's like a Hall of Fame DJ. He's DJ'd with the Beastie Boys, Cypress Hill, Metallica, like anybody that's huge out there, like Mixmaster Mike has been a part of. And he wanted to put out a music video, but he didn't want just like any old type of music video. Like he's always trying to move stuff into the next level himself. And so we kind of collaborated. I was like, I've been experimenting with VR. If you want to trust me with your track, I'll put something together and then I'll show you and we could take it from there. And so I put together like a little prototype called he had a track called the Magma Chamber. I put together a prototype and then he was like all excited. He's like, I already know that you're going to do something dope. Let's just do a green screen shoot with me and you just put the video together and then just show me what you got. And so we set up a green screen shoot, but I showed him my demonstration. He flipped out. He got really excited. We did like a cool green screen shoot. I finished out the video with him in it. And we actually were going to debut it at Comic-Con. And like, cause he was speaking on a panel at the time because he had worked on Teen Titans. And he was like, I want to debut it at Comic-Con. And I'm like, don't you want to see it first? And he's just like, well, there's no time. Just bring it with you. And we're going to debut it when I'm talking. And so like I'm all nervous. I take the video down there. We debut it like with the VR headset and everything. And everybody flipped at Comic-Con. Like this was the first time Mike saw it. He flipped. We had a line going to his booth. Like we actually got in trouble by the fire marshal because like people were like word of mouth. Everybody was just talking about it. And that was kind of like my first foray into VR just because of my experimentation, being able to hook up with a legend and then just take it from there. And so, every time I have success doing something, I just kind of get the bug and just keep accelerating it from there.
It's crazy how, I said in the beginning of this stream that you're one of the persons that you get this level of success and it doesn't really move you. You're literally like, I can call you the founder of VR, but then you're so unhinged by it. Founder of doing music, like you're the first person to do music video with VR. And you're so unhinged by like, you're not really, you're like, well, it's just VR. On to the next thing. Like it is crazy.
I can say I did the first hip hop music video in VR, but not the first music video. I think that goes to Bjork. Yeah, Bjork and Queen released a music video before us, but to put the icing on the cake, there's an award show in Vegas called the VR Awards. And we were up for best music video in virtual reality. So we were actually up against Bjork. We were up against Queen because they did a music video for Bohemian Rhapsody and one other artist. I forget who it was. So like just with Bjork and Queen, I'm like, I don't know if we're going to win, but we actually beat them. Well, we don't know what the vote count was, but we beat them by like a landslide, so I was like, we weren't the first to do a music video, but we're the first hip hop music video. Then we're the first ones to win an award for a music video on VR. So that was, that was kind of solidifying right there.
You're the first
What's
of
that?
like two things. You're the first of two things. Forget the first to do the music video. You're the first to do the EPUB music video. Like now I see a lot of VR stuff now that are really, really cool. And it feels so amazing to know that you kind of pioneered that. And very few people know this. That's the crazy part. Like you're always like, ah, on to the next kid. I wish I can be like that. I wish I can be like you and be as humble as you are. Is this kind of things and just get a growth and just be like, on to the next one and do something amazing. Okay, so like let me ask the next question and
Yeah.
then you can do your announcement. How would you advise someone get into VR right now? And do you think do you think, okay, the time has passed, there isn't really much to do in VR again, or do you think people should go to VR? And another question to add is, what would you say to a motion designer trying out VR? Do you think that motion design is going to be a bigger part of VR? Do you think it's not going to be a bigger part of VR? Where do you think motion design is going to fall in VR? So those are the two questions. Take
Yeah.
the lead.
No, it's fine. So VR is kind of in a weird space. Like when I first was getting into it, there was a lot of excitement, and it seems like, at least here in the United States, a lot of excitement kind of dwindled out for whatever reason. But at the same time, like the Oculus Quest and the Quest 2, they've been selling out like crazy. So I'm not really sure what to make of the VR scene right now, but I can say that, like, I mean, like James Fried Pixels, he's been doing sculpting in VR, which is really cool. So he's like using the VR headset as a tool, kind of like ZBrush, and going in and making 3D models out of it and stuff like that. And same with Don Allen, like he's in there making 3D models in VR. So it's like you're an actual sculptor working on clay, which is, I thought that's really cool because that's just another tool set for 3D modelers to actually physically go in and model stuff and be able to walk
Yeah.
around it and turn it around. So it seems more intuitive than just sitting on a flat screen and creating 3D models that way. So I think like those type of tools moving forward are only going to get better. And then, like, I mean, VR has so many different potential and opportunities in there. Like you have like when they film a movie, especially like you mentioned the Lion King, and I know they're doing it in the Avatar movies, like for the full CG environments, they're like just in a big warehouse, and they're actually wearing like VR headsets that show, like a low res version of that environment. So they're able to go around and do camera scouting and line up their shots and do all types of crazy stuff. So it's like, instead of just watching over somebody's shoulder and seeing like they're seeing on the computer screen, they can act, the director can walk around in VR around the scene and kind of get like a better feel for the environment. So that
So is
stuff
VR
is
is
really
becoming more of a
cool. And
tool for
then
production. No, say VR is
it's
becoming
becoming
more
a
of a
tool.
yeah, rather than just
Oh, no,
game.
go ahead.
It's becoming a tool rather than just games. The Oculus guys made it with the intention of it just being about games. Like, I mean, that's what they
Hmm.
told you. They're like, I don't think you can use VR
Yeah,
for images. You could just, it's meant for video games and stuff. But now it's becoming more than
yeah,
just for video games. It's becoming a tool.
yeah. And then if you want to be on the entertainment side, I mean, there's still like, if you know Unity or Unreal, you can make not only video games, but interactive experiences in itself, which is really cool. And so like if you just like say you don't want to make a full game, but you want to make an environment that you kind of just want to go hang out in and chill. I mean, you have those luxuries as well. If you want to go
Yeah.
the non-room scale route, like for motion graphics artists, we can actually make 360 renders. And so, like, say you build out a scene in Cinema 4D, you can render that out as, like an image sequence or just a still image. You can put on a VR headset and you're inside of your world. Like, you can't walk around in it, but you can still, like turn around and do 360 movements and stuff like that, which is still pretty cool. And so, yeah, I mean, if you want to get started in it, it kind of depends on what you want to do with it. Like, they do have the tool sets inside of After Effects now, which is cool. That's something that I'm proud of because I knew the guys over at Metal, like when I was working on the mix masters mic stuff, like there's this company up in Canada called Metal, and they were working on 360 plugins for After Effects that allow you to do VR and After Effects. And so I was one of their beta testers, which that software got acquired by Adobe. So that's, you know, like I'm really proud to help those guys because I was able to help them get the software to a point to where Adobe really wanted it and they actually just bought the full VR suite. So now you don't have to buy extra plugins like you could do VR within After Effects and stuff, which is really cool. And so if you have that software, you could jump into After Effects and do VR stuff. Any of the 3D platforms could pretty much export out VR now. So if you have like Cinema 4D, Redshift, Octane, you can render out 360 passes there. Or of course, if you want to get really into it and do interactive VR, then you have Unity and Unreal, which are both free. And so, yeah, it's just really all about what your taste is and what you kind of want to accomplish.
So where does motion design fall in? I mean, like motion graphics artists, like where do you see motion design and VR coming together?
Yeah, that's a tough one because I mean, you can make a short film in VR, or like if you want to do something interactive, like you can actually make, you know, like the GUI designs. Like if you watch like an Avenger movie, how they have like the cool
Yeah.
holographic like interface designs, like you could create that in After Effects just as like a flat 2D image, and then bring that into your virtual world into Unreal and have that have the volumetric density in there and stuff like that. So like the tool sets that you know, you can implement that into VR. So again, it just really depends on what you want to do. Like motion graphics, as artists, we're pretty versatile in the different type of fields that we could work in, which is really cool. So there should be no reason why motion graphic artists aren't working. You just got to kind of think outside the box sometimes and implement your skills into other trades.
All right. Thank you very much for really going all in the VR question. So I wanted us to
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you told me that you wanted to have, like announce something before this stream. So this is like that moment where you just announce it, then we take some questions, some other questions, and then we close. We call this a night. Before you start, I really like to say that that VR stuff is like revolutionary. Because I see people using VR for more crazy things. I think even that, I think even that, sorry, I think even that Mandalorian project has a little bit, might have a little bit of those VR 360 image scenes thingy
Yeah, yeah.
there. You might have a little of those elements, those principles there, and I think it's going to be even bigger. And I think it's going to be more than just a game. It's going to be a tool of production, making better work, higher quality level of work with just the, the headset. But then let me let you go into your announcement. I'm really excited for it. I'm going to act like I'm surprised. Sorry.
Yeah.
And let me just
Yeah.
let's take charge.
Yeah, no. So what Raj is talking about was I just recently got accepted into Super Rare because of the community. Like I appreciate everybody just kind of rallying behind me on all the different social media platforms and getting my, you know, my name in front of Super Rare. And so they accepted me into the program. I'm working on my first NFT right now. And so
Wow.
yeah, I'm excited to officially jump into the crypto art
Yeah.
game. I actually just bought my first cryptocurrency this morning. I bought some Ethereum to get myself going. And then I also invested into a little bit of Bitcoin there. But yeah, just really excited to jump into the crypto art game, kind of see where it leads me, just because I've been kind of sleeping on it the past year. Like I've been seeing all these artists like just really going ham on it the past year, and I didn't really understand it. I still don't really understand it, but it seems like it's a good it seemed like it's a good medium for artists to really empower ourselves, because the one thing that, like, I love being a motion graphics artist, but the one thing I don't like is how we don't get any royalties on the back end for anything that we work on. So like a good example is well, I don't want to throw them under the bus. So I'll just say there's a TV show that I work on that's been out there for like ever. And so like the people that do the music for the main title, they get paid every time the episode airs. The writers get paid every time the episode airs. The actors, yeah, everybody seems to get royalties except for us. Like if, you know, if I got a royalty for every time this show aired for the past 8 years, I you know, like I would be making decent side income. So I see crypto art as a good opportunity for us to finally, get some side income, and then stuff on secondary sales. We get royalties on those sales. And so I just think it's really cool for us to finally, be able to make our dues on the work that we've been putting out there, and not just kind of being out there like, okay, one and done, here it is. You guys keep making infinite money off my work, but I'm just going to have to keep hustling to, look for the next gig that comes about.
Wow, I'm going to say very big congratulations for like getting into super rare. I think it takes like a month or two to get into it, and you did it in less than a week or a day. It's crazy. But then you have like the Wimbush mob behind you, so like everybody's
I
asked to
think
like.
it attributes to yeah, I don't know how to say it, but like I come from the mentality that I don't like to wait for opportunities. I'd like to go out and take them. Like if I see something there, I want to go out and grab it. And so you have to take chances in order to, get those opportunities. Like I know some people will say like, oh, you're lucky for such and such. And I don't believe in luck. And if there is such thing as luck, I believe that you put yourself into a situation, like you work really hard to put yourself in that situation to be able to capitalize on that luck. And so like I saw I saw this opportunity there. I've talked to artists like on all the platforms, like they're just getting like 100 to 200 applications a day. And I'm like, I have to do something to make myself stand out, because who's to say that these companies are actually going to even see my application, just because they get drawn inside the email chain. And so I did what I could to put myself out there. I usually don't like asking for anything, but I asked the community just to at least retweet or repost on Instagram, just the video that I put out there saying like, hey, super rare, I'm here. It's like, look at your boy over here. And it seemed to just, it worked. It's kind of like how I got into motion graphics to begin with. Like, Adam Sandler's team, they reached out to me and they were like, we'd like your work. If you're ever in town, just reach out to us. And so instead of just, taking the chance, I bought a red eye flight, flew out there immediately, showed up at the doorstep and got in. So I just believe that you really just have to take that leap of faith in yourself sometimes to get what you want.
Thank you very much for saying all that. I think it takes a lot of work. It takes, like we were saying earlier, if it's just being good that requires you to be successful, maybe every single person in the world will be successful. And I'm really excited for you on this new journey. When can we expect your first NFT? What are you doing? What do you have in mind? How is it going to look like? Maybe don't tell me how it's going to look like, but when can we expect your first NFT? Maybe, who knows, maybe I would be financially able to buy it. Sorry, that's it financially.
No, sooner than later. I've been working. So I'm piggybacking off of, I'm doing another Unreal Engine logo animation. Like I'm an Epic ambassador. And so what I do is I do logo animations for Unreal Engine. And then with that, I do a breakdown of it, kind of going like behind the scenes and showing like what I did in Unreal to, accomplish what I did. And so that's kind of like the contract that I have with them, just to kind of show people that you could do motion graphics using Unreal. And so it was just amazing that they let me put that on my shoulders. But along with that, I'm working on the next logo animation, and at the same time I'm using those same elements for my next NFT. So it's kind of going to be like a 2-for-1 deal. Like this next animation, I'm going all out. Like I created a method for using my mocap suit with Mixamo data. And so like I can't do backflips and I can't do all these crazy Spider-Man aerials, but what I can do is fake it in my mocap suit and then find a similar mocap animation in Mixamo, and I blend the two together and send them up 4D. So it's just something that I came up with, just experimenting, that I'm excited. I got so excited. I'm like, okay, I'm using this method for my next Unreal Engine piece that I'm doing for Epic Games. And so along with that, I'm going to use those same elements for my NFT drop. And so it's going to be a 2-for-1 bang. Hopefully it comes out as cool as I have it in my head. Like I've been working crazy on it for like the past few
If you
weeks.
need any help, just call me. because I'm more than willing to open an NFT. Like I feel like this is going to be crazy good. Can't wait.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, no, I spend a lot of time just experiment. It's one of those things, like I should be done with it by now, but I don't know. I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess. Like I come up with an idea and it doesn't work, and so I'm just like laser focused on problem solving it. So I've been putting more issues to myself that I should be, but I just want to make it as cool as possible. So I just keep coming up with these different things to add to the project to try to make it really cool. But yeah, hopefully sooner than later. 'Cause I know Epic's been waiting on it for a while too. So actually, after this interview, I'm gonna jump back into it and get working on it. So
yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I really like one other thing you said about we not like artists or motion designers or just artists in general. Some artists not being able to get royalties for your work. With the amount of experience you have and all the high level work you've done and the high level work you've won awards for, I'm looking right behind you. Like you should be able to make a lot of royalties from all your work. Like, and it's really bad that you don't like we motion designers don't get. It's because we're like this is not an industry that people recognize or people know it, but they're like, well, it's just motion design, and they don't respect us.
It's one of those things that at least from my understanding that all these other fields in entertainment have like guilds or unions behind them. So you have like the screenwriters guild, you have the actors guild, you have the I think even editors have their own guild, and so they have this community on their behalf that will go out and work out these deals with the different studios. Like I remember early in my career, like the actors all went on strike, and that's because they wanted more royalties for the stuff that they're working on. Then after that, the writers went on strike because the writers wanted royalties for digital media sales and DVD and Blu-ray sales. Like they weren't getting any type of percentages for, like the different sales that came after the shows came out, because, they would put the box sets together, sell those DVDs and make a ton of money. And the writers are like, we want in on that money. And so it's like they have these guilds to fight for them whenever they see that,
Should we go on
they
strike?
think they're being mistreated. But what's that?
I was
Can
asking,
we go on
like,
strike?
yeah, we're not working for any studio,
I mean,
any company.
there's no unity within, like, we don't have a guild or anything. So like me and you, we could go on strike, but there's no guild to say like, okay, we're on strike. Anybody that goes, doesn't obey this strike might be blacklisted, or, however that works. I'm not really sure how it really works, but I know like it's been talked about in our industry before. I know people have tried to get motion graphics artists to kind of, not form a union, but trying to get more on the same page. And it's kind of tough because it's like, okay, I go on strike, but then there's that up and coming artist who's hungry that's looking to get into the industry. And so I go on strike, but that artist coming up is like, hey, I'll take the gig. And, then that makes my strike kind of pointless. And so it's kind of a tough thing to kind of navigate through. I guess that's why you need like some type of governing body to kind of help facilitate this stuff. But hopefully with crypto art, that kind of helps fill that void in for a lot of artists out there.
Yeah, I was going to try out crypto art. I was telling you about a project I was revamping, but I can't go into crypto art because cryptocurrency is now illegal in this country that I'm in.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. I've seen that in other places too. Yeah, why is it illegal?
It's the government. You just wake up and come up with laws, and boom, it's illegal. Nobody can trade cryptocurrencies anymore. It's just our government. I can't go, even if I go into crypto art and I sell an NFT, or I can't cash it out. I can't make money out of it. I can only have the NFT, or unless I find a easy way to like trade it and convert it and get my money out of it without it really affecting the laws in this country. But if I decide to go the normal route, I can't just, okay, boom, I've sold my crypto art. What's next? I just have the Ethereum in my wallet, and that's the end.
Yeah.
I feel like it's really bad. I was trying not to go into the conversation. Yeah,
Say
sorry, you're saying.
there's a site called Nifty, and they don't use, well, I guess they use a combination of both. So you could do either cryptocurrency or you could do straight US dollars. So I wonder if you have any luck like going on Nifty, or hopefully some of these other platforms start opening up to not only cryptocurrency but actually using real currency as well, because I feel like that would help open up doors too, because you're not the only one that I've heard say that Ethereum was illegal in their country. So that's kind of it kind of sucks, but hopefully these platforms will kind of, get into, they would go out of their way to try to accommodate you so you could be on board as well.
I think I would have to be like, sorry, this is going to sound really bad to myself. I have to be like Biko to get into Nifty. Sorry, I'm just messing around here. I have to be like
Yeah,
like
no, I mean,
Biko, or be like you
yeah,
with the mob too.
everybody says that, but I've had a few people say like if you approach them with just a good idea and they like your idea, I mean, you have a chance of getting in. So, like being somebody, like being a celebrity or being on Beeple level definitely helps. But I've seen people that I've never heard of before actually sell Nifties as well. And that's probably because they came in with a good idea that they thought they could get behind. So I would say, the only shots that you don't make are the ones that you don't, or the only, yeah, I forget how the sayings go, but take the shot. And if you get in, you get in, but you can't get in if you never take that shot. So don't
True.
let
I
that
think I'll
deter
just try
you.
my luck.
Just, yeah, just go for it. I mean, you have nothing to lose. And so the
That
worst
makes
thing
a
they
lot
could
of
do is
sense.
say no or just ignore you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so before we leave and before we take any questions that are in the comments, I'm going to start fishing out for questions. Now, I really do hope everyone has something interesting to ask. I would say before you leave, I would like to ask that what would you say to someone just starting out in anything they're doing, maybe motion or game development or virtual reality? What would you say to them? Like, what was your best tip, best advice? While you do that, I'll be
Just jump
fishing
right
out.
into it. Yeah. Yeah. No, I would say just go for it. Like, don't, the worst thing you could do is go online and like say you want to get into game development and you start googling it, and then you see like all these disgruntled game developers that are telling you don't get into this sucks or whatever. It's like, just if you have a passion for something, just go for it, because someone else's experience might not be the same as yours. And so just go for it and put your 100% behind it. And if you have a passion for it, it that like it doesn't even feel like learning, it just feels like you're having fun. So that goes for any field out there pretty much.
So just do it. Just go for it. Awesome.
Just
Awesome.
go for it. Yeah.
It's been amazing talking to you, Winbush. Like I'm looking forward to we having more conversations in the future and even maybe doing this again sometime and talking about another random stuff. So let me just look into the
Yeah.
live
Yeah.
chat and see if anyone has a question. Okay, Kel asked, do you think you might venture into AR, augmented reality?
Yeah. Yeah. I've actually done, I was on the Project Arrow beta back in the day for Adobe. So I did a few. I've done a few AR things, like nothing official out there, but I did dabble in it. I'm waiting for it to get a little bit better. Like I used the Leap Motion glasses before, and it's cool, but it wasn't quite where I wanted it to be. I've not tried the Halo Lens 2 yet or anything of that nature, but the
Yeah,
AR space is a space that I feel like it has a very good potential. Like I probably think that once the glasses and stuff get better, I would probably jump into AR more than VR, just because you have that sense of real world depth in there, because you're pretty much
yeah.
just like overlaying it. And so I see the potential there, but it's just not there for me yet, at least. I still think VR is where it's at.
That makes sense. I'm still looking for other questions. I think if you have any questions right now, you can just put it in the chat. There isn't really any serious questions now. Everyone is just chatting and having fun. I think this is where we would call it a
Yeah,
night
it's all good.
and just end the stream. Let me just close out by saying thank you guys for coming. Sorry, let me put it back to the bright light so it's brighter. Thank you guys for coming. Even if I was shaking for most of this stream, this is actually one of my best streams. I mean, the most interesting conversations. I'm looking forward to doing more streams and doing more projects. I'm getting to that point where I don't have anyone to talk to again. I've used up my quota of really famous motion designers to talk to. So please, if you have anyone that
there's a lot of,
yeah, you were saying.
You should put James in there. Fried Pixels, he's in the chat. You should definitely talk to him, especially about the VR stuff. I would definitely say check out his Twitch channel because he does a lot of live streams in VR doing modeling and stuff like that. So definitely reach out to Fried Pixels there. He's doing some really cool stuff in VR that like I can't even do. So yeah, it's pretty it's pretty cool seeing what he's been doing.
That makes sense. I'm going to reach out to James after like later.
Yeah,
maybe
so
tomorrow.
Putting that out there now. You should.
Yeah, I would love to do. I have really weird ideas for streams. I'm thinking of doing more candid streams where it's just me. Like I have this weird stream idea, which is just like every weekend, me on YouTube live, and we're watching motion design and just talking about random shit. I said shit for like an hour, but then I've been finding it difficult to go about it because I'm still figuring out how to use OBS and those softwares and organizing the stream and getting my computer optimized for streaming and getting a mic. I'm trying to ship a mic to Nigeria and it's just been there, but I'm looking forward to doing more streams and I'm working on this short book. I'm learning how to write. Shout out to Adam Kaufman for showing me a little bit about writing.
Yeah.
I'm learning how to write, so I'm writing the short book about finding clients, and that should be coming out by the end of this month, so next week. And also the short videos about how to find clients. I have so many things, I have so many ideas. It's just sitting down and working on them. And like I said, I've used up my quota of really interesting people to talk to. I'm thinking of maybe EJ or Michael Jones from Mograph Mentor or somebody cool. For like next month, I have 2 people in mind. But after that, I don't have any idea anymore. I'm just going to be blank. And I'm definitely going to reach out.
Definitely, like I said, reach out to James. I would reach out to EJ. Definitely reach out to the people that you saw on the live stream the other night. Even Mograph.com. Reach out to Dave and Matt. Like, yeah, there's a ton of people that you can reach out to, man.
Yeah, I think I
there's artists for days. You could be doing this every week. Yeah,
I want to do this every week, but then it's kind of it's expensive. Let me put it that way. I spend a lot. You might not look like I'm spending much, but I do spend a lot anytime I plan this stream, and it gets expensive really quickly. I have things to pay for, most especially fast internet, because fast internet is expensive in this country, and there is no electricity. So like doing it every time is kind of hard. I need a sponsor. I'm going to be looking for a sponsor. As soon as I have the subscribers to match, I'm going to start looking for sponsors. But for now, I'm working on a book. You guys should check out the book. I'm going to drop a pre-order link in the chat right now. As soon as I can find my own pre-order link. Sorry. Okay, so thank you guys for coming. Before I leave, I just want to drop the pre-order link and then we'll go.
Quick question in the chat. I want to give a shout out to the guy that just he said he subscribed to my channel, but how do you say the name? I don't want to miss his name up there.
I'm gonna say it. His name is Benga Adewumi.
Okay, Benga. Yeah, I didn't want to disrespect to say it incorrectly, so yeah.
I think yeah.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think
Oh, James said set up a Patreon. Yeah, you should do that. Oh yeah, Handel, Eugene. You should definitely talk to Handel.
Oh yeah, like Kenza. Yeah, Kenza.
Kenza?
Yeah, Kenza Card Mary. She talks about she talks about Andal Eugene every time you have a conversation with her. I don't know if she knows she does.
Yeah.
But it's really, really awesome. Like I've seen a lot and I've seen his work and it's really amazing. I just need to reach out honestly and have a conversation and then bring him on the show because it's really good. And Solomon Sekani is that one person that I want to get. So I'm trying to find my own pre-order link. I don't know why I can't find it. One sec. Okay, found it. You guys should definitely
I
pre-order.
say call him Binga. Shout out to Binga. There we go.
Yeah.
I'm looking in the chat, sir.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. This is my pre-order link. The book is coming out next week. It's called The Freelance Kit. It is my best tips for finding clients and everything I've learned over 5 years of freelancing. Every single thing I have learned over 5 years of freelancing. It's kind of like Joey's book. Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, I found my
You
link.
said you dropped a link in the chat there?
Yeah, I did. And I'm definitely going to finish the book and release it next week. You guys should check it out by God's grace. And thank you very much for coming to the stream. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me. I'm going to say goodbye. I've enjoyed the rest of your days and have a great one. Bye.
Yeah, I'm pre-ordering your book right now on Gumroad.
Oh.
Yeah. Grabbing it right now, man. Just showing some support. There you go.
Thank you very much.